on. It's a fight. What do I fix? What do I add? How do I tweak? And something as important as how many people are playing my game gets lost by the wayside. Yes? Don't forget the basics. Now, continuing on. All the data in the world will not help you unless you work with the people who are going to actually use that data. How are you going to collect that data? How are you going to show it to the person who's going to work on this? Now, in Zynga, we've got systems designers. Their job is to do tuning, balancing, systems design. If you make it easy for them to access this information, your turnaround time for changes just dramatically decreases. Yes? So, do you want to see averages or trends when you pull your data? What kind of information? How do you want to show it? Again, red. Test your tools in real-world scenarios. Now again, this happened to me personally. I was working on a project, and we have to come up with quests, tasks for the users to do. Yes? So let's say I want the users to collect cream, which you get from cows. So I'm going to say, I want to tune this. How do I tune it? Do I do a one-size-fits-all? Do I do tuning buckets, where I say, okay, I'm going to put this number for my lowest 30%, this number for my top 30%. So you pull the data, and the data tells you, okay, your lowest 30% of players have got 3 cows. The next 40% have got 5. And your top 30% have got 8. So I'm like, wow, excellent. I'm going to aim for my top 30%. I'm going to ask them to get 10 cream a day, which means they've got to visit at least twice. Right? The first time they get 8 from the 8 cows. The second time they get 2. The problem with this is that the tool that we were using to capture this data didn't check for players that had 0 cows. Yes? So I'm looking at my numbers, I'm saying this is perfect. But it could be that 50, 60, 80% of my users don't have a single cow at all. And that just ruins your entire data. Yes? So you are putting in difficulty that you think is absolutely achievable with a little effort, and your players come back and say, are you bloody kidding me? I can't do this. It's not possible. Right? So always test your tools in real-world scenarios. Give them to the people who will use them as early as possible. Metrics need design. Now what does this mean? Metrics are just numbers. Metrics will tell you, here is a problem, here is an opportunity. You need a great product manager and a brilliant designer to sit down and say, okay, what do we do with these numbers? Yes? How do we actually translate these into something that will help our game? Iteration is the magic bullet. Now, any game designer worth his salt will tell you, iterate, iterate, iterate. And I cannot stress this enough. Now, in Farmville 2, we launch one new, we call it a feature of the week every week. The feature of the week runs for about 2 weeks. We start work on the feature of the week 12 weeks before it's supposed to go live. Yes? So I'm talking, the GDD is done. We are pushing out our art, we're pushing out our concept. We've got our first playable, we've got dailies where we check the game on a daily basis. Why? Because we are aiming for that perfection. We're aiming for that perfect tuning, and that's what brings in the money, that's what brings in the numbers. Iterate as much as you can. Okay? Next point. Turn your players into your promoters. Now, there are very normal ways to do this, right? Forums. I'm going to have a kick-ass forum. I'm going to have one guy who's going to sit and answer all the questions. Everybody does that. Facebook pages. Community managers. Surveys. All of these are tools that everybody has access to. Zynga has something called the Zynga Player Advisory Council. What does this mean? We identify key players. They don't have to be spenders. They will be players who play a game every day but haven't spent a dime, players who spend on a regular basis, casual players. We invite them to join a council, right? And the advantage is they get access to content and information before anybody else. So for them, bragging rights. For us, we get the player's idea on our major features much, much earlier in the process. Yes? Now, I have somewhat of a background in level design and system design, but my true love has always been narrative. Yes? Now, It depends. This is not a magic bullet because not every game is narrative heavy. But if your game has even the slightest amount of narrative, always remember, human beings are natural storytellers. Yes? We've been doing this for centuries. There's a fire, there's people around the fire, and they're talking about legends. They're talking about heroes. They're talking about personal stories. Human beings like to talk about their experiences. Yeah? So, players reading our fiction is good. Players making up their own is better. And I'm going to show you an example of this. Farmville. This is a guy called Walter. Now, the point of Farmville is that when you play it, Farmville 2, when you play it, it's not set in any era. Yeah? You can't look at this and say, oh, it's clearly 2010. It's supposed to be timeless. It could be at any point between 1910 to 2014. Yes? It's got, the farm has got older implements, older trucks, but you'll find farms like that today in England, where they use World War II trucks. The key is, this is the place where technology doesn't exist. We are swamped with so much information, so many Facebook messages, so many, pings, WhatsApp, whatever. This is where you go to get away from it all. Yes? There is no anger, there's no rancor, there's no fighting. This is the place where everybody likes each other. And they occasionally have disagreements, but it's more of like a slap fight than anything else. So Walter is one of our main characters. Now Walter fell in love with Barbara. Yeah? And we had this beautiful sequence where he took her out on a date, and he courted her, and they got married, and they're this happy couple. They have their disagreements occasionally, but it's a lovely relationship. Marie is another one of our NPCs. Again, she's a cowgirl, a little bit unpolished, but she's sweet. Everybody's sweet. So now, we decided, let's bring in a little contest. So we had a competition for the mayor of your county. And again, friendly, Walter says, my color is blue, and my animal is the majestic goat. Marie says, my color is red, and my animal is the majestic chicken. Vote for me, and I'll give you a chicken. Walter says, vote for me, and I'll give you a goat. Right? So, the point is, players like to play our features to get reward animals that they can use in their farm. So this is all above board. Right? Upworthy, what you see next will surprise you. Yeah? What I'm going to show you next is a campaign video put up by one of our players. Walter doesn't ever say this, of course. So this video is a combination of the player putting in his own text, like, what a load of crap. Vote for me and I'll do this for you, what a load of crap. And the player using actual content that comes in the game and twisting it. So, henpecked husband. And this is an actual feature where he's helping her move stuff around. And the guy's using this as evidence that he's a slave to his wife. Yes? And now, suddenly he brings in murder. I don't know whether to marry her or kill her. So he's painting a really dark picture of Walter at this point. Now, what you'll see next is a bug. Okay? It was supposed to be Marie, but unfortunately somebody put Walter, so it seems like he's a schizoid lunatic, because he's talking about himself in the first person. And unfortunately, he did this twice. So, let me see if I can say this in one breath. Fawning, bribing, murderous, obsessive-compulsive, man-child, dissociative identity disorder. This is not what we wanted. This is not how we projected it. But this worked. Because when this video was released on YouTube, Marie, we were tracking this because we track everything. Marie and Walter were neck and neck. And then Marie just surged ahead in the polls. She went up to 54% to 46%. I don't know if this video was connected. Exact date, that's when we saw the surge. So, this is what players can do, provided you give them enough background and enough character building to work with. Yeah? Now, reuse or improve existing content. Now this, you can't always do this. Yeah? It depends on your game. So it's, as I said, not a magic bullet, But you should always think about reuse or improve versus new. Because when you're running a successful free-to-play game, I'm talking a game where you've got millions of people playing every day, your art budget is going to be scandalous. Like, I remember I was working on a game and just casually asked the producer, how much does the art cost? You could run a small country on that. I'm not even kidding. It was insane. Yes? So you have to figure out ways to optimize your content, not just because you're going to save money, but because you're going to save time. So I'm going to give you 2 examples of us doing this at Zynga. First was draw something. Draw something is essentially a social game. I go online, a friend draws something, and I'm supposed to guess it, right? The drawback is it's an online game. What if my friends aren't online? What if I don't know anybody online? So what we did is, we took the literally hundreds of thousands of pictures that we had in our database of players drawing pictures, and we created a single player mode called Guess Something. You don't need to play against anybody. On a daily basis, we pick 10 pictures. That's your challenge. Guess what these pictures are. You get money, which you can then use. You get coins, whatever. So we took the same content that players had made for us, and we gave them something they'd been clamoring for, which is a single player mode. Yes? Practically free, if you're not counting dev time. Now, this is something that I'm particularly proud of. It's a bold beat. Now, bold beat is something large. It's a huge change we make to our systems for Farmville. Now, Farmville, standard, I'm going to produce crops, I'm going to sell crops, and I'm going to expand to new areas where I'll get new crops, new animals, so on. And what we did is we created something called Big Harvest, where we said, you're going to produce, you're going to sell, but you're going to upgrade. Now, what does that mean? You see here, we've got 5 plots of land. Yes? We created a new drop called favors. If you play our features of the week, and our features of the week are our bread and butter, it's the content that we keep putting out every week. If you play that, you will get favors. Favors allows you to do things like merge your 5 plots into one super plot. Now, what are the advantages? A, I've saved space, which is always a crunch, right? This thing takes up 4 slots instead of 5. B, it's a better output. It gives me better output, and I feel a sense of progression, right? So we did this for our windmills, our trees, that's a grove, and for our water towers, yes? Now, why does this make producers and artists happy? Because this is a level 1 water tower. This is a level 2, slightly different color. Band, slightly different, upgraded. These are essentially 2 pieces of art. And what we've given the player are 5 items. And 5 aspirational items. They're not decos. They're not, oh, put this on your farm and forget about it. It's, wow, this is an upgrade path. I need to play your features so I can upgrade my farm and I can get efficiency. Yes? So this was a brilliant example of how we reused content and maintained player love at the same time. Because if you just blindly reuse something, they'll be like, we've seen this before, you're cheating us. We had player love, we had savings, and we had a new core loop, a new thing that players could associate with. Always have a plan B. Now, what does this mean? I'm going to show you one of our features. Yeah? It's called My Family Farm, and it seems like a no-brainer. You are alone on your farm, you've got friends, sure, but what if your childhood sweetheart could join you? What if you could have a child? Now you have a family, right? There are so many things you can do with your family. So the video I'm about to show you was something that we created for Halloween. And I want you to pay particular attention to the wife and the child and the interaction between them. Yes? So he's scaring her, scary stories. Our players love this. They love this. They will pay through their noses for this because it gives them something that makes them feel better about themselves. It reminds them of when they were children and when they were scared and when they went to their mother and they hugged her, right? So, what went wrong? My Family Farm, beautiful. Again, it's a lovely little area. She's your childhood sweetheart. And Zynga is open to all kinds of people. So you can choose, if you're a guy, you can choose a guy. You can choose a girl. If you're a girl, you can choose a girl. Yes? So players loved that. Players loved that choice. What is the problem? The problem is the feature was too powerful. We launched it, and we found that users were spending so much time with their wife that they were completely neglecting other areas of the game. And so you suddenly had your features take a nosedive. So we huddled in the room, design, PM, and we said, okay, here are the numbers that we're going to change. Here's what we're going to change for the wife. We essentially have to nerf the wife. Yeah, it's not a great decision, but you don't have a choice. So what was the drawback of that? The drawback is we didn't have a plan B. We put it out there and we're like, okay, here are the numbers that make sense. Here are the numbers that we've tested. We've looked at the metrics. We've looked at our player council. We've hit all the right marks. So we'll release this, and we can tweak if we need to. We had to cut the wife's power by a huge margin. And the problem is, it wasn't just that we cut it. It's that we had to take time to cut it, because we had to huddle, and we had to run numbers, and we had to say, what ifs? If we had a plan B, if we said, you know, what if this feature needs to be either nerfed down or made more powerful? Here are the numbers we can work with. So what you have then is you release the feature, 2 days later you find out, shit, we need to nerf it, your numbers are ready. You push those numbers out, you're done. The problem is, the longer you let your players have access to that feature, the more used to those numbers they get. Now we don't push our new features to everybody. Yeah? What we do is, we do, as always, A/B testing. So this feature was pushed to 20% of our users, which actually made things worse. Because 20% of our users, for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, they had the super powerful wife. Yes? And then we nerfed it, and then we released it to everybody. So you've got 20% of people who say, you've made her useless. I had access to this beautiful woman who'd help me on a daily basis, and she's now useless. The 80% of players said, at least you guys got her for 3 weeks. We've not got her at all. We've got this crappy wife from the get-go. So no one was happy. Yes? If we had a plan B, we could have mitigated this to a great extent. So plan B. Plan B, this kind of comes under plan B. It's called the law of unintended consequences. Now what does this mean? We launched Draw Something. And it's a good game. People like it. It's fun. But now we've got to come up with something new. We've got to come up with something more exciting. What do we do? What do people do in Draw Something? They draw. Okay? Let's give them better tools. Let's give them better paintbrushes. Let's give them things that they can use to enhance their picture. Soften, saturate. Yes? In fact, what we can do is, we can create these super special pencils and these super special items that we'll sell to our high-level players. No-brainer. It's perfect. Unintended consequence. We release the game, and we're like, you know what else we should do? The best pictures we're going to feature. We're going to feature on our Facebook page. When you log in, we're going to feature those amazing pictures, and we're going to show people, here's what you can do. And everybody said, I can't do that. I'm not good enough. There's no way I can draw like that. Screw this game, I'm not playing it. It's too tough. Right? So you show somebody a beautiful picture. Most people like to draw straw figures. Right? And they're like, this game is way too tough for me. There's no way I can do this. I don't make a fool of myself. I'm gone. Yeah? So always keep that in mind, that players will tell you, I want this. I will move on to slide number 6. Now this is important, because if you have a game that you love, yeah, it's your baby. You've worked on it. You've worked sleepless nights. You've stayed up and you've done everything possible, but you don't like playing it. You don't have fun. Yeah, you're like, this is why it's so important to motivate people. Now, the problem is that in India, our idea of motivation is, I'll meet you once a year, I'll tell you what your performance is. We have an artist, okay, today, do no work. We're going to get a guy in, and he's going to teach you how to draw characters. Yes? When we're going to give you models, the models are you and you. So the key is, some artists in our company, they manage to capture the inner essence, the hidden, true inner essence of some of our employees. Yes? Some of them concentrate on the physical aspects. So the key is, when I got these pictures, I shared them with my friends. And they all said, how can I do what you do? This is awesome. You make games for a living. People draw you these cool things. What do I have to do? Yeah? So this is motivational for me. It's motivational for many other people in the company as well. It's a cool little gift. It's a lovely caricature of me. Yes? And we do this all the time. So it's not just every 3 quarters, let's give him an award, or let's give him a gift card. Make him look forward, him or her, my apologies, look forward to coming to work every day. What can I do today? Yes? Now what I'm going to show you is an example of this. We had a team of artists and animators that were between features, and they're like, we've got 3 days free, and we want to come up with something cool. So the guy in charge of the game said, sure, knock yourself out. So they were going to draw a storyboard, but they said, let's take it to the next level. So they created a storyboard, and they animated it. And they showed it to the entire team. And the team was like, this is bloody awesome. What do we have to do to take this to the next level? They're like, we need like 2 weeks off. They got 2 weeks off. So what you're about to see is a video that has never been shown outside Zynga. Yes? You guys are the first people outside the Farmville 2 team to see this. That wasn't created for anything. It was just, what can we do? Yes? So when we put this video out, when players say, wow, this is amazing, I want to start playing Farmville 2 again, it wasn't a project that people worked on because they were told to. It's a project that people worked on because they wanted to. And that makes all the difference. Yeah? So, to recap, meaningful rewards, track everything, make your players into your promoters, reuse and improve rather than create new. Doesn't always work, but use it when you can. Always have a plan B. Most importantly, for game designers, always have fun.